All right. The category is where there's a will, there's a way. In addition to picking the topic, you also get to choose which team goes first. Yours was them's.
We would like to go first.
Oh, you'd like to go first? Smart.
Yes.
Okay, smart. Mockingbird. You will go first. Then I'll bounce over here, and I'll ping-pong back and forth until one team is completely gone and the other team wins. So, the topic we're rocking today is where there's a will, there's a way. Geeks, your final task is to list as many U.S. theatrically released major motion pictures that Will Ferrell has acted or voice acted in as you can. Emily, go.
Step Brothers.
Mallory.
Anchorman.
Scott.
Talladega Nights. Story of Ricky Bobby.
Eric.
Old school.
That guy fell
Joshua.
asleep. Kicking and Screaming.
Chris.
Anchorman 2.
Emily. I felt like you were trying to Morse code me there, but that didn't work. Emily, step back, no conferring, no talking. Mallory.
Dodgeball. Really?
I'm sorry, Mallory, step back. Scott.
Zoolander.
Eric.
Dick.
Joshua.
Elf.
Chris.
Stranger Than Fiction.
Oh God, that was mine.
I'm out. Scott.
Bewitched.
Eric. Oh, sorry.
That was not 3 seconds.
Hey, we made it. All right. Thanks for waiting so patiently.
Welcome, Zach.
Thanks, Ray.
How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm in New York City. How can you not be good in New York City? Hey, Shannon. What's happening, girl? Good to see you. That's Shannon Fox. She's an excellent person. You should all know her.
This is, of course, a busy week for you. Comic-Con is imminent. It's about to start right now.
Yeah, Thursday.
And you host during Comic-Con, becoming an annual tradition called Nerd HQ. And for those who don't know what it is or haven't had a chance to get out there, tell us about Nerd HQ, what it is, and how it started.
Yeah, so I started a company called The Nerd Machine, which was kind of me looking at the landscape of nerd culture and identifying with that culture and saying, I wish that there was like a unifying brand that we could all wear together that just literally said nerd or whatever, you know. We all have our little fandoms, but I wanted something that we could all look at and all relate to together. And I wanted it to be kind of community-based and online and have editorial stuff that was all submitted through people who were a part of that community and also create content one day, which led into Geeks Who Drink. But in order to activate the brand, when we first started it, I thought, well, you got to do something at Comic-Con in San Diego because that's kind of like nerd mecca. And so there was no room to actually have a booth at the convention floor because that's like a 10-year waiting list, and I'm a dummy. So then people were kind of just starting to, have little pop-ups outside in the gas lamp in San Diego. So what initially started as me going to my partner Dave Coleman and saying, "Oh, let's do like one day. We'll rent out a bar and we'll put a table there. We'll have a merch, our merch booth, and then I'll tweet out to my fans and say, hey, I'll sign stuff or take pictures, and hopefully that'll get foot traffic." And I go, "Well, I have other friends that might want to do that, so I'll bring them in." And then I went to Dave like 2 days later. I said, "You know what we should do? We should just have our own little convention, and we'll set up our merch booth, and we'll do everything that we can to just incentivize people to want to come through and give them as much as we can. And hopefully through doing that, you build trust and you build brand awareness and you build loyalty with the fan base." And so what we essentially do is we have 4 days and 3 nights it's a free event. Anybody can come in off the street. You don't need a badge to come in. And you can, for free, play with a bunch of great cool tech and video games. We have, AMD and Sony are bringing Star Wars Battlefront for the first time for any of the public to have their hands on. Never before happened. It's only been at E3, and that was for professionals only. And then they are also bringing Project Morpheus, which is their virtual reality cool tech, which I got to play with, which is very cool. We have charging stations, like if your phone's dying or your tablet or whatever, you can come in and do that for free. Food and drink, you got to pay for that. But we also have dance parties every single night. Thursday and Saturday are open to the public entirely. Friday's a private party that we have for a lot of our friends and sponsors and stuff. And all day long, every celebrity fan interaction that we do, whether it's our panels, which are called Conversations for a Cause, or our photo sessions, which are called Smiles for Smiles, and even signings. Each one of those is basically $20 a pop, and every penny of that goes to Operation Smile, who I'm an ambassador for, and an incredible organization. They're a nonprofit that goes to developing countries around the world and essentially has doctors and anesthesiologists, surgeons, nurses donate their time to fix kids with cleft lips and cleft palates, and beautiful people with a beautiful cause. And I've been involved with them for a lot of time, hence Smiles for Smiles and stuff like that. But I really wanted to, I just really believe in the fan-artist connection. I believe that, especially nowadays, the world is so small with technology, and I think it's very important to foster that relationship and to tell you that you are the producers at the end of the day. If you don't watch what we make on television and put in movie theaters, then we don't get to do it anymore. So you are the true patrons of the arts. And I liked having conversations with our fan bases, and you don't really get that opportunity in a lot of spots.
Right.
So our Conversations for a Cause are 200 people. Every year has been a little different, but it's about 200 people in an audience, and there's no moderator. I come out on the stage, I intro whoever is going to be the panelist or panelists, and then it just open for questions. And you could ask, what's your favorite color? Do you eat your boogers? Whatever you want to ask, you can ask those questions. Everyone's been very respectful up to now. Hopefully that will continue to go. And every panelist and every audience member that I've ever talked to that's gone through the experience with us has resoundingly come back and said, that was one of the funnest and coolest things I've ever been a part of. It's very magical. You never know what's going to happen. You don't know what somebody's going to ask, and you don't know what the response is going to be.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be super ridiculous and funny. Sometimes, Tom Hiddleston is quoting French poetry. I can't guarantee you that he's not going to do that. He's a very intelligent man. But it's interactive and it's organic, and I really believe that the more, while still keeping it safe and respectful, the more boundaries you can take off of people and trust them in an experience, the more involved they get to be in that and the more special they feel through that. So that's what it's all about.
In a way, it almost sounds like you're setting up a smaller, more intimate Comic-Con next to Comic-Con.
I mean, I would say that there were a lot of things that I saw that I wish that I could do that weren't necessarily happening, whether it was at Comic-Con or other pop-ups or whatever, like dance parties. Like there were a lot of parties that you could go to in San Diego on that weekend, but none of them were really a dance party. They were fun. I would run into friends. I'd meet new people, but it inevitably would be like me and Joss Whedon and Felicia Day and some of the kids from Glee around like one speaker at one party, and we're all like, this is pretty fun, right? What are we doing? And I'm like, why doesn't anybody just have like a proper DJ and we can, let our hair down?
Yeah.
Or, I mean, if you have long enough hair to let down, but, and just go crazy and sweat and dance and, I don't know, listen to Bruno Mars. I mean, who doesn't want to do that? Just me? Okay, great.
Some of the panels or conversations happening this year include William Shatner, M. Night Shyamalan, Elijah Wood, Joss Whedon, of course, and many more, many huge ones. What are some of the ones you're looking forward to most this year?
Honestly, the only thing that I care about is that everybody else leaves happy. If everybody else leaves happy, I leave happy. I don't get panelists because I'm even necessarily a fan of their show. There are people that I've met and I've become friends with, and I haven't watched their particular show. Sorry, but it's not about me. It's not for me.
Right.
I want to be able to give those 200 some odd people in the audience an opportunity that they don't get. I want to give those panelists an opportunity that they don't get anywhere else at other conventions or whatever. And so the only who I'm excited for is whoever any one of those audience members is excited for. Now, clearly, having Captain Kirk on a stage at Nerd HQ doing a conversation for a cause, that's mind-blowing. And that all started, by the way, somebody on Twitter, I think a year ago, had tweeted both of us saying, hey, William Shatner, why don't you do one of these? And he goes, what is that? And I said, well, this is what it is. Check it out. And, over the course of a year, that kind of kept percolating, and then eventually he said, yeah, I'll go do that. And that just means a lot. When you believe in something and you put your mind and your heart and your soul into it, and you're a super dumb ideologist like I am, and you need people to believe in it, because ideology is only as good as if it actually resonates with somebody else. Right. If not, you're just like alone on an island where you're convicted of something that doesn't mean anything. So.
As you say, anything can basically happen here. The fans are almost in control of these conversations. And in the past, as you said, Loki/Tom Hiddleston has quoted French poetry. Nathan Fillion has pretty much made out with a audience member with a fan.
Nathan did kiss somebody. Yes, he did do that.
It was an extended kiss. What are some of the crazier things you've seen happen during Nerd HQ?
Oh, man, I don't know. Well, Tom Hiddleston also was asked to impersonate a velociraptor, which he did impeccably. That was pretty nutty. It's really the stuff that you don't expect. I mean, you don't really expect any of it, I guess. But there's moments, for example, where we had Arthur Darvill, Karen Gillan, and Matt Smith. They were doing a Doctor Who panel one year, and just impromptu started singing Bohemian Rhapsody, just because. And because we allow that, because we go, it's your time, do whatever you want. There was another one, Richard Madden, fresh off of, spoiler alert, dying in a particular show that you should already be watching if you're not. But anyway, so he was doing a panel, and it was a great panel, and we're talking about Game of Thrones, and we're talking about his life and his career and all that stuff, and just being actors, and about halfway through the panel, his girlfriend, Jenna Coleman, who had recently joined Doctor Who, and Matt Smith just burst through the door, and everyone in the audience started losing their minds, and you could see it like slowly creep across the audience. They're like, the Doctor and the King of the North are on the same stage right now. It was just like mind-melting, but that's so much fun, to be able to tell people, like, if you would have just busted on your friend's panel, come on, it's great. It's, grab a drink, whatever. So it's that stuff.
Yeah.
It's the stuff that you can't plan, you can't script it. It's only because you give the freedom to do that. And again, as long as people are respectful and safe, and everyone has been, then that's magical.
Yeah. One of the, I think the grand finale this year for the panels is Heroes Reborn, which is the Heroes reboot that you're a part of.
Yes, technically, we are doing a Heroes Reborn panel at San Diego Comic-Con in Hall H, which is the big mother...
The big one.
The big one, and it's the first time I've ever done a Hall H panel, so I'm very excited about that. Our panel is not a Heroes Reborn panel. Our panel is called the Zach and the people he is currently working with panel, and that is for various reasons.
A legal loophole.
Whatever. But yes, it'll be something in that vein. Yeah, and that's super fun.
Yeah. What can you tell us, either from the official panel or from your current friends panel? What can we expect from either one? Is there any Heroes Reborn tidbits you can give away?
Oh, no, I really can't. In fact, this is going to be a lot like those panels because we can't really talk about much of anything.
Yeah.
I think that I know, it's like, what's the point? Well, look, at HQ, I can literally look at the audience is kind of essentially, about this size, and I just look at everybody and say, this is what you can, this is what you cannot ask, so deal with it. Hall H is going to be a little different because there's like 7,000 people, God willing, hopefully it fills up. But I think we're going to show, at Hall H, we're going to show an extended trailer of the show. And there's going to be a lot of, almost most of us, that doesn't make any sense. Almost all of us of the main cast will be there. And I think we'll be able to answer questions about, like, what does this feel like in juxtaposition to other work that we've worked on, or how's the experience been so far? Do you enjoy playing your character? But we can't really talk about specifics, and quite frankly, I don't really like to, because I don't like spoilers.
Right.
And we live in a world that is just constantly, just the other day I stupidly replied to somebody on Twitter about some Game of Thrones thing and didn't realize that in retweeting them, I was spoiling something for people who had maybe not seen that episode.
Right.
Even though it was like 48 hours later. Come on. If you don't want spoilers, stay off the internet, people. And then somebody called me and I was like, because I never do that. I'm very, very good about that. But
yeah.
So yeah, no spoilers. Sorry.
It's all right. Here's something you probably can't spoil a little bit of. Geeks Who Drink, which is going to be...
Spoil away. What do you want to talk about?
That's your new your show coming up for Sci-Fi. Tell us about what Geeks Who Drink is and how that started.
So Geeks Who Drink is... Well, pub trivia, right? We all know what pub trivia is. Been going on in England for a really long time, and in the United States, probably the last 10 years, it's really kind of built the momentum that it has today. Yeah. Geeks Who Drink is the kind of most well-known, most popular pub trivia circuits, where they have like a centralized quiz master, sending out the quizzes to everybody. Yeah. And it's about like 600 cities around the country, I think. And Wired magazine had done an article about them. Condé Nast owns Wired. They licensed the television rights to make a TV show out of it, maybe one day. They brought that to a company called Kinetic Content, who then, while trying to crack the puzzle of it, thought, why don't we go to Zachary Levi and the Nerd Machine? And I think they might be able to bring the vantage point or voice that we need for a show like this. And I was honored that they would think that of us. And so David and I thought, yeah, this is a great idea. Let's go do that. We made a pilot. Sci-Fi loved the pilot. They picked it up, and then they came back and said, we really feel like you're the guy who should host this. And I said, I don't know about that. And part of that is, and it's a weird thing, and it takes a long time to kind of get into the philosophy of it. But when you're an actor, people tend to, and it's gotten a little different or better or whatever. But you kind of see personalities on television or in film, and you go, oh, they're a host. Or they're an actor.
Right.
But seldom do you go, oh, they can do both. And you can still, if you watch somebody host something, if you're watching them later on acting and not think, oh, yeah, it was a guy who was asking questions and drinking and stuff. So I was a little afraid of that. And then I thought, well, I don't want to be afraid. I don't want to make a decision out of fear anyway. And I loved watching game shows growing up and even still sometimes. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to go do the best boozy Trebek that I can do. And I'm going to take this on and I'll check it off my bucket list. And if it flies, awesome. And if it doesn't, then at least we did it for a little while, and I hope people enjoyed it, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. It premieres on July 16th on Sci-Fi. Yeah.
I was going to ask, who were some of your game show host inspirations? Who did you study, or did you study anyone in preparation for the role?
There are so many. And I don't know their names. you know what I'm talking about? Like, there were some guys that would they would host a different game show every year all through the 90s. And you're like, I know you. You just did that show. You were on Supermarket Sweep. I remember that. You were that guy. Now you're on Shop Till You Drop. Well, look, it's, it's Alex Trebek. It's Pat Sajak. Bob Barker. Come on.
Yeah.
Honestly, I just wanted one of those long, skinny, these guys. It was the greatest job. He didn't even have to move. He could just go, it was like perfect level.
Yeah. As the host, do you get to drink during the show, or do you have to stay?
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't. I wouldn't have it any other way. You got to be in character, right? I don't know. It's a method host.
Have you learned surprising things while hosting the show, either through the trivia or about the nature of Geeks?
No, I've definitely learned a lot of the trivia. I'm not, some of our contestants are super smart and very knowledgeable about niche things that I feel like I know a little bit about a lot, but I don't know a lot about certain microcosms or like I'm not a Potterhead. Like I could not go toe to toe with anybody about Hogwarts. I just couldn't do it. Some of these people can go to town. But then, some of our celebrity contestants, Scott Porter, super intelligent, very nerdy in his own right. Oh, we played Destiny together online, so that shouldn't have surprised me. Felicia Day, obviously not a surprise. Robert Buckley, iZombie, he knows his stuff, and incredible comic book collection, and so yeah, you get to know them, and you get to know what they're passionate about, and you get to know your other, your kind of your general public contestants that are a lot of really excellent and intelligent people. And the thing I would just tell everyone before every episode was, look, the trivia is real, the money, the prizes, that's all real, but let's have fun. Let's make this enjoyable, because if people at home aren't enjoying, if we're not enjoying it, they're not enjoying it, and if they're not enjoying it, then then what's the point of even doing this? So that was good.
One last question, then I'll go to the audience. Who's the nerdiest celebrity you've ever met?
Do I count? No, I don't know. Well, look, one of the things that we try to put out there from the Nerd Machine is, I really do. I believe that nerd or nerdy is just synonymous with passionate, and I really do believe that. I think that look, back in the day, there was this moniker that was put on people that were just very passionate about things like comic books and video games and science and pocket protectors or whatever, because they liked cleanliness and orderly pens. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. But look, now people are obsessed with fashion, or they're you see it on their Instagram all the time, or they're obsessed with food, or any kind of art or collection, or Jay Leno. I use this quote all the time. Jay Leno's a car nerd. Kobe Bryant's a basketball nerd. Yeah. It's whatever you're passionate about. So Yeah, I've met some people that are super passionate and therefore nerdy about all kinds of stuff. But about like stereotypical nerdy,
Gotta call someone out.
I don't know. I'll call Scott Porter out again. Scott, you're a nerd, and I love you for it. There you go. He's got like 3 level 34 characters. I'm still my warlock on Destiny's only at 32, so I'm still working on. Anybody play Destiny? Nobody? Am I just? I'm literally referencing something that nobody knows. That's fantastic.
Tough crowd.
Tough crowd.
We'll take questions from this tough crowd.
Yeah, right back there.
Hi, Zachary.
Hi. What's your name?
I'm Techno.
Nice to meet you.
We met a couple of times.
Oh, nice to see you.
Last year, yeah. Okay, first, since you say you're going to San Diego, why not come to New York Comic Con? We have fun here too on the East Coast.
And good night, everybody. You do, but I have been here. We did a nerd. We didn't do nerd headquarters. We did a nerd outpost, and it was right here at the convention center. It's difficult. There's a couple reasons why New York Comic Con is difficult. We're based in Southern California, shipping everything out to New York. We're a very small operation, so we're basically at break even. It costs a lot of money to ship everything out, and you'd be surprised how much money it costs just to get everything from the back of the warehouse to the front because there's a lot of labor costs and all that kind of stuff. So that's difficult. And also, Nerd HQ is a very specific thing to be able to pull off. And fortunately, in San Diego during Comic-Con down there, I mean, there's more celebrities than there are in LA during the Oscars. I mean, it's crazy, right? So you have a much bigger pool of people to go to and say, hey, if you have a moment, would you mind coming and doing a panel, or would you mind coming and doing a photo opportunity? And while there are many celebrities that come to New York Comic-Con, it hasn't been enough or quite yet to be able to build the same type of event that we would do in San Diego. And we want to be able to stay consistent with the quality, and that's all that.
And also, second thing, cosplays. How many Deadpools do you think you're going to see at San Diego this year?
How many Deadpool what?
How many Deadpool cosplayers do you think you're going to see this year
Oh,
at San Diego?
tons. I mean...
And what's your most top cosplay you're hoping to see this year?
I mean, honestly, Deadpool. Deadpool is my favorite character from the Marvel Universe, and I think Ryan Reynolds crushes it as Deadpool. I'm also incredibly jealous that he got to be Deadpool. But that's neither here nor there. But he's also, he's very well loved, and Ryan and Deadpool. And but because of the movie and the traction and everything, I think there'll be a lot of that. And it's definitely some of the best I've seen. I mean, the intricacy and the detail that people put into their cosplay nowadays is out of control. It's incredible. Who else has a question? Yes, right down here in front. Oh, wait, do you have to wait for a microphone? You can use mine. Here she comes. She's running. Here we go.
So I just wanted to say really quick, I'm a giant fan of Nerd HQ, and
Thank
I
you.
used to go on the forum all the time.
Oh, nice.
A few of my best friends I've met from there. So
That warms my heart.
yes.
I love hearing that.
So addition to Comic-Con and everything, I was just wondering, this is a two-parter, if that's okay?
That's fine with me.
What is the craziest fan experience you've ever had, and what is the most heartwarming and memorable, if you have one?
Well, I mean, probably the craziest was when something you had referenced earlier. So I think it was it was the second year we were doing Nerd HQ, and I don't know. I had jokingly said, I think somebody had said, I'll pay you like $20 for a kiss, and I said, no, I'm not that cheap. But for $1,000, I'll give you a kiss, and it was a joke. And then a girl paid $1,000, and then I was like, well, I said it. And that was also incredibly generous of her. I mean, because it all goes Operation Smile. And so that was probably the craziest thing I've ever done. I've never kissed a fan before. But she was a lovely girl. And then I think Nathan ended up, then Nathan paid to kiss me. That's what happened. And Adam Baldwin. So that was all very weird. And then the most heartwarming, I don't know. It's moments where I meet somebody and they tell you that whatever you've brought into the world, whether it was like just you telling me now that you've met some of your new best friends on forums at Nerd Machine or Nerd HQ, that makes you feel like, oh, it wasn't in vain. I did something. I was a part of bringing something into the world that actually impacted somebody else in a really positive way, you know? And when somebody comes up to me and says, I'm a big fan of Chuck. I loved Chuck. My dad, you know, I got this letter once, and the person had written to me and they said, my dad had passed away a year before Chuck started, and my mom didn't smile. And then we started watching Chuck as a family, and I started seeing my mom smile again. And you go, if I die tomorrow, at least God used me like that. So yeah, that stuff. Yeah, great question.
It's a tough question to beat, but
Yeah, right. You got one here?
Yes, this question's from Periscope. First,
Oh, hey, Periscope.
everybody, Pakistan loves you. They wanted me to tell you that.
All right,
And,
guys, I'm big in Pakistan.
The big question that's scrolling like crazy is, what are the odds we're going to see a Chuck movie ever?
So yeah, ever. Well, I've said it before and I'll say it again and I'll keep saying it because I do mean it. I have every intention of making a Chuck movie at some point. Every episode we made of Chuck was basically a little movie in itself, and if we didn't have to cut it down for TV format, 44 minutes or whatever, you could have let that breathe and stretch, and it could have been an hour and a half. And that's basically a movie, right? So I think we could totally do it. I've talked to all the cast. I've talked to our former crew. And we were all such an incredible family, very, very close and very tight. And everybody's down for the idea. I've gotten the blessing of Chris Vidak and Josh Schwartz. And even I've talked to preliminarily Warner Brothers, and they've said they're open, you know, when Veronica Mars happened. So, you know, they've seen kind of some traction in that way. It's more a matter of the right time and the right model, financially, also distribution. I don't know that I would really want to go and make a Chuck movie that would be in theaters, because that's a lot of overhead. That's a lot of money that I don't think you need to spend on a movie that I would only really want to make, I mean, not only, but primarily for our original audience. There's a lot of people that the finale didn't necessarily sit super great with them, and other people that it's sat fine with, but they still want to see more. And so I think going and, you know, I don't know, like a reasonable budget to go make that movie. But I also have a lot of ideas of how I'd want to incorporate the fan base. Like, I would want to have a website where people got to like pre-buy it, and whoever pre-bought from a certain region, like if like South Dakota had the most pre-sales, then we'd go and actually shoot a scene in South Dakota. If Pakistan had the most pre-sales as an international country, then we'd go to Pakistan. And like, to me, that's where the future is. That's where incorporating with your fan base and with your demographic and saying, how can we all do this together where you support us, we get to make what you want, and you get to also be a part of that process, you know? Kickstarter is hard because if you don't reach a goal, you don't make it. But I kind of feel like that's defeatist. Like, I would want to look at the world and say, we're going to make it one way or another. If you want to come in on the ground level and like pre-buy it, and you get a cool little tchotchke or perk or whatever, and maybe that perk is your country gets to be a part of the background, be a part of like a major scene in this movie, like that's killer to me. I'd like to do that. So Pakistan, stay on your keyboards. I don't know. In 5 years. I don't know. Maybe not 5. I don't know. Don't listen to anything I said after Pakistan. Okay.
Pakistani Chuck fans are flipping out right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I think we have time for one more question, and then we'll have to wrap up.
You guys can duke it out. We got. He's already got a microphone.
See,
You've been
I
doing
got it.
Yeah.
So you made your start in theater, and then you moved on to film acting and TV and voice acting. Which do you prefer, and do you plan to return to the stage anytime soon?
Recently.
I did. Well, I did First Date.
Right.
Yeah. Did anybody here see First Date? Anybody? Oh, nice. Wow, fantastic. All right. You saw it twice?
Yes.
Oh, good man. You saw it twice as well? 3 times. Going 3 times, 4 times, 4 times, going 4 times, 5 times. Just hold to the front row. 3 times. All right. So that was super fun. Like, I loved doing First Date, and I was so glad to be able to get back to theater. There's nothing like a live audience. There's nothing like the symbiotic relationship and the energy that you share with a live audience. It's, even doing this, like, this is a lot of fun. But I couldn't tell you which one of any one of those mediums I preferred, because they're all so very different. They stretch you and challenge you in very different ways. There are complications to each one of them that you wish you could somehow meld this with that, but you can't because you kind of have to stay in that world. Excuse me, that was a burp. And but I love them all. I hadn't done theater in a long time, and going back and doing First Date was, doing 8 shows a week for 6 months. No matter how many people that I knew who had done Broadway before that look at me and go, 8 shows a week is no joke. And I would go, and then you do it, and you're like, and then I'm looking at people who are about to do a play, and I go, 8 shows a week is no joke. I mean, I just find myself repeating it, because it's no joke. And especially a musical, because you can't I'd go to dinner with friends in New York, and almost every restaurant you go into, it's packed with people. It's New York. It's great. But when 50 people are in a restaurant, the noise level just gets up here, and then you're like, so then I was down on the west side, and you're like, I can't even talk. I will lose my voice just at being at dinner. So you got to be very careful about all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I love them all. I want to keep doing them all, and I would love to come back and do more Broadway. It's just a matter of the right show at the right time. That's the right fit, and some producer going, we think you're great. We'd love you to do it. So whenever, producers, whenever you want to jump on that. I'm free in September. Okay.
Well, thank you, Zachary Levi, for
Thank
sitting
you, Ray.
down and chatting with us, and thank you guys for being here.
Thanks, everybody.